ma'am to kindly go on and start on with the session.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. Uh, I would like to thank Dr. R.N. Patil, sir, Principal BVCOEL, Professor Uday Patkar, HOD Computer Engineering BVCOEL, for giving me this opportunity, and most important, all the listeners for spending their 1 hour, Sunday 1 hour, which is very challenging. Thank you so much, listeners, and assuring you that it will be in a very crisp way, the content as well as the learning which you will have at the end of the seminar. Will try to give my best for this particular seminar. So can we start, Joseph?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. I'll just turn on the screen. You want me to turn on the presentation?
Oh,
Ma'am, can you hear me?
slide 1. Can we start with the slide
Yeah.
directly?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. The full view.
Yeah, ma'am, is it
Okay,
visible?
the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely visible. So, good afternoon, all listeners. We are starting today with practical implementation of machine learning. How will be the overall flow? Actually, we are going to start with the basic terminologies required, basic concept required for implementation of a code. We are going to see next a code snippet related to regression is one of the concepts, and then followed by the most interesting part, what kind of job profiles are available in machine learning domain, and followed by few blocks and few big B's in machine learning domain. As you are able to see on your screen, bottom left, you can see the Walmart. Walmart is the best example of retail business. Now, if you ask what is the unique selling point, USP of Walmart, now they are using ML algorithms for inventory management. Now, how they are giving, they are doing this inventory management task by using a robot. Now, the robot will move among all the racks where the items are kept, and the images, the pictures are being clicked. They have a very sturdy, strong setup of ML algorithms, and they are going to analyze the pictures and giving back the figures, the stock figures which are available. So ever you go to Walmart, you will never experience that you need XYZ and that XYZ is not there. So how Walmart, which kind of data Walmart is using? Their internal inventory data Walmart is using. Whereas what is the outcome expected by these strong ML algorithms? That they wanted to get the just-in-time inventory. That means within minimum time, the inventory should be available. Let's move on to the bottom right side. I hope everyone have recognized this picture. Yeah, I'm sure you have recognized it. It's Disney World. Okay. Every one of us is having a dream that we should go to Disney World and enjoy that games and parks, amusement park, and all those things. Now, what is the best part at what, how it is related to machine learning? Now, once you visit Disney World, you will get a magic band. Now, this magic band is providing you 24 by 3, 24 by 7 services. Services in terms of in the hotel, wherever you are staying, the door can be opened, the door can be closed with the help of this magic band. If you are having your food, then you can pay your payment of the food using this magic band. Then what kind of games are there, how much rush is there, and don't get surprised that you are in a queue in one of the particular game, let's say, and you will be able to see that, hey, Joseph, please come forward and now it's your turn, kind of. And so making the personalized experience, the data is being gathered from the guest, okay, and from this external data they are trying to give you that personalized experience. Now, in Walmart and in Disneyland, everywhere it was just the data. Either it is from their own internal resources or from the external resources. Let's move to the top side, top left. This N, I guess everyone in lockdown period especially, this was the way how we survive. So I know that every one of you is well aware about this N, and you are correct that it is Netflix. So do you know the journey of Netflix? In just 1999, they have started with VCR renting, online renting of VCR. And what was the reason? That it was a bit delay and they have to pay. The one who have invented this, they have to pay a fine for that. So let's start VCR business on our own. That was the purpose, and this is how in 1998 it started. Now there is a change from VCR to DVD, CD. It get moved, and as the Netflix business also get moved to online renting of CD and DVD. Now soon the internet is available with almost everybody, and with a very reasonable cost the internet is available. And so Netflix have started their own content also. Now you might be watching many web series which are owned, created by Netflix. You might be watching very many movies. So 125 million. Can you imagine? These are the number of subscribers within just 20 years Netflix is having. Again, what is the reason? Data. But how they get so much of progress? Because of the innovativeness. The data is again base, but the innovativeness have given them 125 million subscribers. Let's move to the top right hand side. That is John Deere tractors. Around 100 years back, John Deere have taken an initiative to start manufacturing some machinery for which will help farmers to in their farming. Now they have understood that for plowing or crop cutting, if any additional module can be attached and detached with this tractor, probably that will create an automation in agricultural domain. So they slowly move to precision agricultural, and nowadays so they have a PLC monitors along with their tractor, and the farmer is really enjoying the farming, hundreds of acres of farming. So with minimum manpower, the whole process is automated. Again here, what is the data? What is the need of the farmer? How are the different parameters which will affect the agricultural? Again, data is the base, and innovativeness they have added. So there is a long journey which is very interesting and innovative journey for John Deere. So with this slide, I wanted to tell you that everywhere it's data, data, data. But how you are going to use it, what innovativeness you are going to add it, what is your business purpose, based on that, you are going to decide your strategies, your model, you are going to build your model. So Huzaifa, the next slide. Huzaifa, can you move to next slide? Yeah. So now the next slide we are trying to, in this next slide we are trying to, which is most connecting and interesting example for you. Maybe after 1 year, 2 year or 3 year, you are going to appear this way for the process. And I know that you have identified it. The guess is correct that it is an interview process. Okay. Only the difference is that the traditional interview, which you might be imagining and the mention in the slide, is a bit different in terms of robo is taking the interview. Now imagine if you are the developer in this particular case. What are the aspects which you need to consider while developing this kind of an application? Now the prerequisite for this particular slide is that there is a particular profile available. The profile is having a certain skill set required, and there are thousands of resumes available. Now from these resumes, it's expected that automatically the word should be learned and the fitment should be done. Fitment in terms of mapping the skill set mentioned by the candidate and the skill set required for that particular profile. This should be matched. This we are expecting in terms of automated model should do this task. So this kind of an process is called text classification in machine learning. Now, what is the second aspect which you have to look into while designing this one? The second thing is that we are expecting that the robot will ask question to the candidate, and based on the answer of the candidate, the robot is going to decide, or the robot is going to do assessment and going to ask the next question. Now, if you see what is the input in this case, the input is audio and the output is again audio only. Okay, so this kind of an channel is being called speech recognition. Now, what is the third thing which you need to look into? Except this audio and text, you have the third parameter, that how the interviewer is, how the candidate is sitting, how is the movement of his or her hands, and how she or he is looking in eyes, and so a way to assess the non-verbal communication. Now you can imagine very well that if a robo is expected to do the assessment in non-verbal about non-verbal communication, then there should be a web camera which should be on, and then it is capturing the different posture, different images are being captured. So in short, video, and which is being consolidated by a set of images. So from this particular slide, what I wanted to tell you that there is a possibility of only 3 kinds of input for any ML algorithm. The first is the text, second is the speech, and third is the video or images. These are the 3 possible inputs for any ML algorithm. Huzaif, please move to next slide. Now, in the next slide, I'm going to ask you, you just observe that slide and tell me a story. Probably it may be visible, or I think you just have to zoom in so that it will be visible for you. So just go through all the columns or the rows and try to understand and tell me what exactly is happening there. You are expected to tell me a story about the picture you are able to see. Okay, so we'll just wait for 2-3 seconds and then we'll start. So absolutely correct. I know that every one of you is in line and they have their own story about what you are able to see on the screen, and you have correctly identified that it is a resale car data set where they have mentioned the brand of the car, the price of the car, the brand of the car, the model, the year in which it is being purchased, and then mileage, color, and the number, from which state it is, country, and the so these are the different columns of that particular data set. So this particular slide which you are able to see is called the data set, which will be input for your machine learning algorithm. Now you can imagine this data can be retrieved from different sources. Okay, so for your purpose, this particular seminar is for a novice beginner in ML domain. So I can suggest you that Kaggle or University of California repository, UCI repository, these are the 2 major resources for different data sets. Of course, all these data sets are very cleaned. Clean, I mean clean is nothing but when you are getting something from the social network, getting some data set from any website, you can imagine that there may be some fields which are missing. Okay, there may be language, even though it is English. On social media you are writing on your Instagram a English kind of a language there. So the language may differ, or the way you write it may differ. There might be few abbreviations in the language. So this is what the actual data is. And the most challenging part in ML domain is about this slide. So the first coding module for machine learning is nothing but data pre-processing part. So data pre-processing meaning you have to see whether the data is structured, whether it is unstructured. If a column, in a column, if it is expected that only integer data type should be there, and if a float is also there, or else whether it is real-time streaming data, or what kind of a languages are being used in the data, if there is any missing. So should I delete that row, or should I fill that particular value with something? So these are the questions. Now let's say in this particular case you have a different states or different country, and then from which state it is being Georgia or New Jersey, so Virginia. So countries differ. So what to do with this text? Okay, so a label encoder process is there. So all these missing data, handling all the different data types, structured, unstructured, are being cleaned in data pre-processing step, which is the step 1 for writing a code in machine learning. So this is expected. A lot of data is available. Now the beauty is that all these machine learning algorithms are available since many years. Okay, if you see history of any of the algorithm, it is available since many years. But now why it's so trending? Reason number 1, there are a lot of resources from which you can get the data. Now every one of you is very well known that majority of your practicals are being motivated to use open source technologies, and this is how the outside world also is doing. A lot of open source communities are there. Here not only you are getting something from GitHub, and you are doing some slight changes, and then you are using it, you are customizing it, and you are using it for your project. No, only this is not expected. You are expected to contribute on this open source community, and this is the most important thing, contribution on open source, which is going to give you a job in future. How much is your score on GitHub? How much is your score on this open source? How much is your ranking on this? So this will be a major line, most important, highest priority line on your resume after 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years, whenever you are applying for different jobs. And the second reason, so data set availability, which is quite easier nowadays. This is one reason why machine learning is most popular nowadays. It's very trending, and it will be for many years ahead. And the second reason is that if you see the computation power, if you have purchased your PD, pen drive, before 2 years, let's say, what was the cost? And now if you purchase it, how is the cost? So the computation power is becoming more and more reasonable. And these are the two reasons because of which the machine learning algorithms are becoming very, very popular. So Huzaif, the next slide. Now in the next slide, we are going to see, till this time, we have seen that data pre-processing is your first module when you are writing a code. Okay. Now, just have a look at this slide and imagine you are teaching a kid. Now, how you are teaching the kid? You're showing some picture and telling the kid that, can you identify the first letter of that name of that particular animal? Let's say if puppy. So you're expecting that when you show a picture to a kid, the kid should point out to a letter P. This is what is expected. As you can recall our kindergarten age, that A for apple, B for boy, and all those things. Exactly. Imagine the same scenario now. We are showing a picture to a kid, and we are expecting that he or she should highlight the first letter. Okay. So how you are training that kid? Maybe daily you are showing that kid different pictures, and then you are telling that kid, now this is P. Okay, so if this is tortoise, then this is T now. So you are trying to map between the picture and the first letter of the name of the animal. So as you can easily identify, that exactly same happens in the machine learning algorithm also. This particular process is called training process when you are building any machine learning algorithm. Now, how this works? Now, let's say in this picture, there are around 20 animals are shown. So what you will do, probably you will tell that kid about 18 animals, and you are training the kid again and again. So showing the puppy picture and pointing, the kid should point out to P. So this you are doing it repetitively. So this is the training process in the machine learning algorithm. Now you have to understand whether my training works or not. Now, obviously, it will be a testing phase. Now, how you will test it? Maybe you will show some other puppy picture and you are expecting that the kid should point out to P. So this particular phase, we are saying that this is a testing phase in case of machine learning algorithm. Now, what are the different, let's focus on this puppy example and P letter as an outcome. Now think about the puppy's perspective, the kid's perspective, I'm sorry, from the kid's perspective, okay? How the kid might be learning these things. Now, when you are showing the puppy picture, how the kid might be thinking, oh, if this is the height, this is how the tail is. If this is the ear, this is the leg length. This is how the eyes are. This is how the teeth is. This is how the face is. Probably this may be a puppy. So these leg length, tail, ear, maybe the body part of puppy are nothing but features in machine learning algorithms. So till this we have seen that a training process is necessary to make sure that our training works perfectly. A testing process is necessary. When you are training and testing, how the kid think that, oh, in this picture, this is the feature. These are the things. If these things are matching with the picture, then I have to point out on P. So these are different features in the machine learning algorithm. And now I'm sure that you will be most happy if you're showing the kid a different puppy picture and the kid is able to point out on the letter P. So you are absolutely 100% successful in your agenda, because your training works perfectly, because your testing result, that is the kid have shown P, is nothing but the predicted value, and actually you know that this is the puppy, so this is the actual value. So then you can say that 100% accuracy you have achieved. Till this time we have seen different terms which we are going to use it in our for the code which we are going to write from the next slide. The first was, you have to think that out of these 100 sample, how many sample I should train and how many I can use it for testing. Next, the model, the algorithm should think which are the features based on which I should decide that, oh, if the height is so and so, So now let's indicate P as the letter. Okay. So you are expecting the algorithm should not confuse in between cat ka kitten and puppy. So that you have to choose the features in such a way that your algorithm should predict the correct value, correct letter in 100% way. So training set, testing set, feature value, and the performance measurement in terms of accuracy. Accuracy is just one parameter. Along with this, you can use different parameters like confusion matrix, you can use precision, you can use recall. So I hope the basic terminologies which will be required for coding a basic, writing a basic code are clear for you. Let's move to the next slide, Josef. So in the next slide, we are going to show you a code snippet. Okay. Now you are aware about the basic terminologies required for writing a machine learning code. Now we are starting writing the code. Okay. Now I'm sure that every one of you is a very passionate coder, and everyone is aware about the fact that you need certain libraries to make sure that your code can retrieve the respective function, classes, methods from that library, and your task can be done in with minimum number of line of code. So if you focus on the first and the second line, this is pandas and numpy. These are the libraries. Now this code, basically for writing code, there are different options, like you can use Python, you can use Java, you can use Scala, you can use R. But my perspective is that R is more from statistical point of view, whereas Python is more from engineering guy point of view. Okay, so if you are comfortable with Python, that is the best part, because Python is having a lot of inbuilt library which can be directly used for writing your functions. Let's move on to the code. The first two lines, that is pandas and numpy. Now what these are basically is, in C or C++, I'm sure everyone is aware about different data structure like array, linked list, tree. Whereas in Python, particularly in machine learning, we are using the term data frame. Now pandas is supporting data frame data structure. Pandas is basically, it's very fast, powerful and flexible, easy to use open source library for machine learning algorithms. You are expected to do a lot of mathematical operation on the code. We'll share one by one what exactly we are going to do. Let's say if in the data set which we have seen in the last slide, you wanted to find out how many rows are there in the data set and how many columns are there. There is a simple line you just need to write, that is df.shape. df.shape. So df indicates here data frame, and shape is telling you the row count and the column count. Sometimes you are interested in understanding what kind of a data structure my each column is following. So with just df.info, you can get this information. Now, once I have informed you that, tell a story, how you start thinking, you started thinking, you have gone through each column, each row, then your brain will start thinking about what might be the relation between this column and that column, what is dependent on what is not at all related to this particular thing. So you are trying to find out certain pattern in the data set. Okay, so you are trying to find out the relationship between the columns, between different variables available. So with just df.correlation, you can find out the complete relationships between each column. Okay, 1 is the highest number and 0 is the lowest number. If your df.correlation matrix is showing you a zero value, let's say, that indicates that these two columns are not at all related with each other. And if this df.correlation is showing you that it is 0.9, 0.95, that means they are highly correlated. So this is how you start thinking, and this is where okay. So this is where pandas and numpy can be used. So we'll just go through all the libraries, and then we can have definitely a question answer session. All the listeners, if you have any question, please post it on the chat window, and Josef is helping me to segregate the question and will ask the question, and I will try my best to give you the answer. The third line in the code, we'll just finish this slide. The third and the fourth line, that is matplotlib and the Seaborn. Basically, you wanted to show something. If in the first slide, if I'm just going on speaking the thing and I will show you a picture will be more effective. So if you wanted to show to your client the graph way, this matplotlib and Seaborn will be useful. You are expected to use many statistical models. So the fifth line library you have to import. And the sixth one, that is sklearn.model selection, import train test split. Now you are using this train test split class because you are telling the model that out of 100 samples, how many samples, 70 sample, I'm going to use for training and 30 for testing. Okay, so sklearn is nothing but scikit-learn library, which have a lot of things about different algorithms and different classes to be used for writing the code. The second last line is the linear regression is one of the algorithm in machine learning. And the last line is R2 is nothing but the residual. So don't get tensed even though you don't have understood it, because probably being a novice, the novice beginner, it might be, you may feel it challenging, but it is just the importing the library. After 2-3 such sessions, you will understand that it's very easy, it's very repetitive task. So the next slide, Josef, we'll just fast move on. This slide, I wanted to tell you that you are creating a copy of the data, because with the original data set should not get disturbed. So you are creating a copy and you are doing all your experiment on this copied data set. Next line, as I said, df.ship is just telling you in this particular data set, you have 50,001 rows and 19 columns. The next line is indicating the info about all the columns available in the code. The next slide, Josef.
Yes.
So now this is complete data pre-processing part, and this is the use of Seaborn or matplotlib library. You can plot beautifully different variables where they are more correlated. You can imagine how they are correlated, and out of all the columns.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sorry, I would like to just interrupt you there, as we really have less time left. So if you could just sum up in the next 30 seconds, please, so we could start on with the question answer. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Jose. Yeah. Let's go to the next slide. The next slide. Yeah. This is now the most interesting part is that for what you are learning, ultimately you wanted to get the job from this. You wanted to earn money from this. This is how this generation is. So this particular picture is indicating data engineering is one of the most valuable, very high priority profile, which is one of the profile where you can work if you are very passionate about operating system and cloud technology, or DBMS, SQL, MongoDB. So this will get data from different resources. So it is basically a user interface. So data engineer is one of the job profile if you are very passionate about this. The next slide. The next slide is indicating the next job profile. This is a traffic police, you can imagine very well. And analogous to this, data governance is the field where they are more concerned about who will be the owner of the data, how I can maintain the security of the data, how I can think about the confidentiality of this data. So more of an administrative kind of an role which the data governance profile is handling. So these are the two profiles. Next slide, Jose. And the next slide is very well known to you all that it is data scientist or data analyst. You can imagine that data analyst is reporting to data scientist, and data scientist where you have to understand the inference from the data, you have to understand the pattern of the data and which algorithm will be.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but I guess we have only 2 minutes left. So
Okay,
we'll try and take in 3 questions at least. I'm really sorry. Okay, so moving to the first question we have here, okay, which language is best in between R, Scala, and Python?
Okay, so this is my personal opinion that as a computer engineer, as an IT engineer, we should go for Python language because it is having a lot of libraries, and R will be more from statistical thing. Instead of this graph in R, you are able to see 0.06, so which may not be that interesting for an engineer.
Okay,
so Python.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on with the next question. How to increase the accuracy of a model and eliminate the biases? If you could just sum that up quickly.
Okay, how to increase the accuracy? What we are doing here, one cross validation is one of the technique where what is being done out of my 100 sample, what I'm doing, I'm training my module with 90 and using 10 as an testing data. I'm changing this continuously and multiple times, or if you go to is the thing which will try to improve your accuracy, deep learning, neural network. So there are different ways to improve the accuracy.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, we have less than a minute here. So I would like to really thank you for letting such a big, vast portion of this session and completing it in just mere 40 minutes. I guess everyone could have at least got a hang of it. So I'm really thankful to you from the entire BVP family for helping us out with this session. And all the other participants, sorry if we could not ask your questions. We'll definitely convey your questions to ma'am and try and solve them later. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Any last conclusion you would like to say? Any last conclusion sentence?
Yeah, this is a very trending